Today, let's talk about high blood pressure, but in a completely different way. We're going to explore a gentler, wiser approach, inspired by Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who is Japan's oldest and one of its most beloved doctors. The idea? To reframe this whole thing, not as an illness we have to fight, but as a signal, a message our body is trying to send us.
And this quote, well, it gets right to the point, doesn't it? High blood pressure is a silent operator. It doesn't send out a warning shot with pain or discomfort. And that's exactly what makes it so sneaky, so dangerous. It's working in the background, often for years, until the damage is already done.
And for a huge number of us, we're talking a staggering 70% of adults over 60, that potential damage might already be happening. This isn't some rare condition. It's a quiet crisis that's affecting the majority of older adults, and so many of them have no idea, because they think feeling fine means being fine.
This really brings that statistic to life. This is a true story, you know? An 82-year-old man, super active, walked every single morning. He said he felt great, just a little more tired than usual. But his blood pressure was through the roof. He kind of laughed it off, and just 3 weeks later, he had a stroke. It's a powerful lesson in why we can't always trust how we feel to tell us what's really going on.
Okay, so this brings us to the real heart of our conversation today. We need to completely shift how we look at high blood pressure. Let's stop thinking of it as just an illness that needs to be stamped out with pills. Instead, let's start seeing it for what it is, a signal from your body that something deeper is out of balance.
So what are we even talking about here? What is blood pressure? It's really simple. It's just the force of your blood pushing against the walls of your arteries. And the garden hose analogy on this slide, it's perfect. Imagine a gentle stream of water flowing through a hose, no problem. But if you crank that pressure way up, day after day for years, that hose is going to get weak, brittle, and eventually break. That's exactly what's happening inside our bodies.
This slide just lays out that shift in thinking so clearly. The common view, right, is that high blood pressure is the problem itself. It's the enemy we have to attack. But Dr. Hinohara's view, it sees blood pressure as the result of something else. An imbalance in our lifestyle, our stress levels, our diet. It's not the problem, it's the messenger trying to tell us about the problem. So you might be wondering, why does a lifestyle that was totally fine for me at 40 suddenly become an issue at 70? Well, it's because our bodies just change. As we get older, our arteries naturally get a bit stiffer. Our kidneys have to work harder. Our nervous system gets a little more jumpy in response to stress. Basically, our body's built-in margin for error, it just gets a whole lot smaller.
So if blood pressure is a signal, how in the world do we listen to it? And more importantly, how do we respond? It really comes down to three fundamental things: the food we eat, the way we move our bodies, and the quality of our rest. These are the big three levers we can actually pull to help bring our system back into a healthier balance.
Let's dive into food first. When most people hear high blood pressure, the first thing that pops into their head is, oh, I gotta cut out salt. And while yes, sodium is part of the equation, it is absolutely not the whole story. In fact, the real magic often isn't in what you take away, but in what you add.
Here's the key. It's all about the balance between sodium and potassium. See, potassium actually helps your kidneys get rid of excess sodium. So by adding more potassium-rich foods, things like bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, you're not just avoiding salt, you're actively giving your body the tools it needs to manage its own sodium levels. It's a game changer. For some people, this can make an even bigger difference than just cutting salt alone.
I absolutely love this quote because it makes you think about food in a whole new light. Every single meal is a set of instructions you're sending to your body's control center. Processed, salty foods are sending a message to tighten up and get inflamed. But whole, vibrant foods, they're sending a message to relax and repair. You are literally talking to your body with your fork. All right, let's talk about movement. I think a lot of people, especially as they get older, feel defeated before they even start. They have this idea that they need to be running a 5K or lifting heavy weights at the gym, but that's just not true. Your body responds incredibly well to gentle, consistent movement. And just look at how simple and doable this can be. We're talking about slow walking, gentle Tai Chi, or even exercises like wall squats, where you just hold a seated position against a wall. It doesn't get much simpler than that. All of these things have been proven to help lower blood pressure. It's not about the intensity, it's about making movement a regular, feel-good part of your day. Now let's get into the two factors that so many of us completely overlook: sleep and stress.
You could honestly have the most perfect diet and exercise plan in the world, but if you're chronically stressed or not sleeping well, your blood pressure can stay stubbornly high. These are the invisible forces that keep your body stuck in a constant state of red alert.
So what's actually happening here? Well, when you're stressed or sleep deprived, your body pumps out cortisol, the main stress hormone. This keeps your blood pressure elevated even when you're supposed to be resting. Then you've got things like sleep apnea, which is a huge and often undiagnosed cause. And look, the emotional pressure of life, that alone can keep your blood pressure high, no matter how many salads you eat.
This brings us to a really important part of the conversation, the numbers themselves. You know, the 120/80, what should we actually be aiming for? Because it's not as black and white as you might think, especially as we get older. It's about finding a balance.
So for a long time, the standard goal was to get under 140/90. But more recent studies have suggested that aiming for a lower target, closer to 120/80, can seriously reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes. But, and this is a big but, this is where the pure science of medicine has to meet the art of medicine.
And this quote just says it all. What good is a perfect number on a screen if the medication to get you there makes you feel dizzy, weak, or just foggy all the time? If you lower blood pressure too aggressively, you can actually increase the risk of falls and just suck the joy out of life. The real goal is to find that sweet spot, reducing danger without sacrificing quality of life.
So you've got the science on one side, that's the numbers, the universal targets, but then you have the art. And the art is about listening to the person's story. It's about working together to find a level of personal stability where they feel good and confident while still being protected. It's a partnership. Okay, so after hearing all of this, what do you actually do? Where do you start? I think the single most important takeaway is this. You do not need a perfect, elaborate plan. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is just to start moving in the right direction.
The best advice is to start with something that feels, well, almost silly, it's so small. Seriously, a 5-minute walk after you eat breakfast, using just 1 pinch less salt when you cook, turning off the TV just 10 minutes earlier to wind down. These things don't feel like a big deal, but they build on each other. That little success makes the next one feel possible.
And that really is the key. So many of us get paralyzed trying to create the perfect plan, waiting for the perfect Monday to start. But that day never really comes, does it? All we have is right now. You don't need a perfect plan, you just need to begin.
And let's end on this beautiful thought. True health isn't just about what's on your plate or how many steps you take. It's about how we carry ourselves through the world. It's about connection, purpose, and joy. When we live a little more lightly and love a little more deeply, we're practicing a type of medicine that no pill can ever replicate. So, what's one small light step you can take for yourself today?